SB 9 was adopted into law by the state of California in September 2021. It took effect on January 1st, 2022, meaning any local requirements need to be adopted as soon as possible to ensure the housing is meeting the needs of residents in the greater community. The new law allows for by right lot splits and the development of additional housing in single-family zones. While there are several requirements spelled out in the law, the bill allows for local governments to customize the implementation of SB 9 in a number of ways. We recognize the need for customized implementation measures to ensure the development of these new units contributes to the betterment of communities and neighborhoods. We want to ensure the SB 9 regulations align with the city's accessory dwelling unit regulations to create an easily implemented process that contributes to meeting the city's housing goals. It's worth noting that SB 9 does not apply to every parcel in the city of San Diego. The bill limited its application to places that do not include farmland, wetland, habitats, and conservation lands, historic resources, and other areas. SB 9 allows for the lot split and development of new housing in single-family zones. The bill allows for a maximum of 4 units to be developed across the 2 new parcels. The bill also includes a requirements that specify the minimum ratio for the lot split and minimum lot sizes, and includes a provision that requires the city to permit a second unit of at least 800 square feet on each lot, regardless of any development regulations. Locally, we are proposing that once a property has developed additional units under SB 9, the property owner may not develop additional units under the city's accessory dwelling unit regulations. The city is proposing additionally locally tailored requirements for the development of units under SB 9. To better explain the requirements, this presentation includes illustrative representations of the city's proposed SB 9 code amendments. These representations are not necessarily to scale or meant to show typical SB 9 development. They are merely meant to provide a visual aid to the description of the proposed requirements. Once we have explained the requirements, I will provide a scenario of SB 9 development that may occur in a single-family lot in San Diego. We'll start with the setback requirements. SB 9 allows for a maximum of 4-foot setbacks in the side and rear of lots for new development. In order to maximize the potential developable area on each lot while still maintaining privacy and safety, the proposed city requirements would allow for 0-foot setbacks on the side and rear of the lot for any single-story unit constructed under SB 9. Therefore, the single-story structures shown on this slide would be allowed to be developed with 0-foot setbacks on the side and rear. The proposal also includes a requirement for any 2-story structure adjacent to residential parcels to incorporate the maximum 4-foot setback allowed under state law. As shown on this slide, the 2-story structure would need to incorporate a 4-foot setback on the side and rear since it is adjacent to residential parcels. The proposed requirements would also allow for a 0-foot setback on the side and rear for multi-story buildings when adjacent to non-residential uses. For this example, if the rear adjacent lot were a commercial development, office space, alley, or other non-residential use, the 2-story building could be constructed with a 0-foot setback on the rear. SB 9 allows for a maximum of 1 parking space per unit for units constructed that are not near transit. The proposed requirements would be applied based on the project's location inside and outside of transit priority areas. TPAs are places within a half-mile of a trolley station or 2 bus routes that arrive frequently during busy traffic times. To allow for the development of new homes while also meeting the needs of residents, the proposed requirements require 1 parking space for the development of a 3rd and 4th unit under SB 9. In the illustrative example, 1 parking space would be required for 2 of the 3 additional units. Per the city's proposal, there would be no parking requirements for the 3 new units if the example development were to occur inside of a TPA. While SB 9 does not have a tree canopy requirement, we believe the need for tree canopy in existing communities is essential and should be required for the development of new units under SB 9. Trees provide shade, sequester carbon, and are a benefit to the community. Under this proposal, 2 shade trees would need to be planted or kept on the property for every 5,000 square feet on the newly divided lot, with a minimum of 1 tree per existing parcel. In this illustrative example, the newly divided lot would result in lots of 9,000 and 11,000 square feet. The lots on the left would be required to plant or retain 2 trees, while the lots on the right would require 4 trees. The proposal also requires the application of the city's street tree regulations when a 3rd or 4th unit is constructed pursuant to SB 9. The street tree regulations require 1 tree planted on the property or in the parkway for every 30 feet facing the street. Since 4 units would result from this example, the street tree ordinance would apply. Finally, the proposal includes a requirement for the payment of development impact fees. These fees are charges on development proposals to fund the construction of parks, libraries, fire stations, and other public improvements. SB 9 calls for more units to be developed in existing communities, but these need to be balanced with the need for public improvements. To incentivize new housing development, this proposal would waive the DIF for the first new unit constructed under SB 9. To ensure additional development is contributing to the public facilities needed, the development of a 3rd and 4th unit would be required to pay the fee. The fee would be charged based on the square footage of each developed unit, meaning larger units would pay more than smaller units. In our illustrative example, the 2nd unit added would not be charged DIF. However, a similarly sized 3rd unit would be. The 4th unit would also be charged DIF, but since it is larger than the 3rd unit, will be charged more than the 3rd unit. It's important to note that SB 9 made some changes to the allowable development of single-family lots in San Diego, but many requirements of existing zones still apply. This slide shows a comparison between what is currently allowed in one of the city's single-family zones and how SB 9 affects some of those key requirements. Existing zoning requirements related to height, floor area ratio, and front setbacks were not amended by SB 9 and would still apply under the proposed SB 9 implementation. We recognize that the illustrative example shown in the previous slides is not the most likely development scenario expected in the city. Therefore, we have prepared a scenario to illustrate the SB 9 development potential on more typical lots. This scenario shows the replacement of a single-family home with a duplex, the development of a new duplex, and the split of a 5,000 square foot lot. Under the proposed SB 9 regulations, the side and rear setbacks of the duplex would be 4 feet because the homes are 2 stories and have residential uses on both sides and the rear. The development would be required to add 2 off-street parking spaces if it is outside of a transit priority area, as it results in a total of 4 units on the lots. If the development is inside of a TPA, it would not be required to provide any additional off-street parking. The development would be required to keep or plant 1 tree on the property to meet the minimum requirements, and the city's street tree requirements would apply because the development would result in 4 homes. One of the duplexes would be charged the DIF based on the square footage of the units because the overall development would include the 3rd and 4th units on the site.